Hello, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, and I'm your host, Joshua Peak. And I'm hooked on my chair. Technical difficulties. Ready? Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I am Josh Peak, and today happens to be the 27th of July. And I'm hooked on my chair. My microphone, or my headphone cable is hooked on my chair. Anyway, we're all good now. Ooh, that was loud. I'm sorry if you guys listen to that. That was something going on with my microphone. Okay, so today happens to be July 27th, 2019. It's Saturday. It's late. It's 10:30 at night. I just got done watching a new series that's on Amazon. Amazon Prime, if any of you guys have that, they create some of their own content. And there is a show that came out last night? I guess technically it was like midnight on Thursday, but I didn't watch them until I got off work yesterday, and then I watched some this evening. Cast of The Boys on Amazon. Boom. This is incredible, okay? This show is on Amazon. It's called The Boys. I don't know why they called it The Boys. They only say The Boys a couple times in the whole thing. But the idea of the show is, I watched all 8 episodes, by the way, and they're about an hour apiece. I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying. I was gonna do a podcast earlier, and I was gonna go, well, I'm watching the show, and this is what's going on, but anyway, this is an incredible cast. It's really, really good. The show is good. The show is the idea that there are such a thing as superheroes, and they're real. They're people with special powers. They're called supers, okay? And in this world where supers are real, there is a group of 7 who are supposed to be the top of the top, and they're supposed to be the official superheroes. They're the ones that are saving the day. We're following a main character. Her name is Annie January. You don't actually hear her last name in the whole show. I don't know why they tell you her in this mock-up. Young blonde girl. Her name is Erin Moriarty in real life. Good actress. Basically, she wants to be part of the 7, and she goes into an interview, and they're like, all right, well, show us your powers. And she goes, okay, everybody look away. It's gonna blind you if you don't. And she shows her powers or whatever. And they pick her to be part of the 7, okay? This is not giving anything away. This is in the previews, okay? So she becomes a superhero. Well, there's this group of people who are after her, or after the supers, because not all of them are good. Now here's the idea. I mean, think about the fact of people that you know right now, people that may be in power, people that, or maybe politicians or police officers or whatever the case may be, FBI, CIA, you see this kind of stuff on TV, and they have absolute power. Okay, now think about the fact of if they had superpowers. Maybe they're not all virtuistic all the time. Maybe they do some things that are questionable. Maybe they do some things that you think, oh, this guy's really a bad guy. Okay, that's kind of where the show takes off. Now, there's several people in this show that right away, when you see them on screen, you're like, I know that person. Holy cow, I can't believe they got that person in here. I got that person too. No kidding. Oh my God, there's so many people. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyway. It's really incredible. I'm trying to look it up on my phone. My phone is skipping around here a little bit. Elizabeth Shue is one of the main characters. Jack Quaid is in it. He's one of the, I think he's Dennis Quaid's son. Real handsome fellow. There's several actors right away when you see him, you go, oh, I know them. Carl Urban. Carl Urban played Bones on Star Trek. Real buff guy, real big brawny guy. British accent, good guy, good actor. God, God, there's a bunch of people in this. If you watched Breaking Bad, I don't know if anybody's watched Breaking Bad. There's a black dude in it that plays like a drug pen. He runs like a local fast food place. He's been in lots of sci-fi stuff. He's in this. He plays a part in this. You see him on screen. You're like, oh, yeah, this guy. Haley Joel Osment is in it. He's in there. When you see him, you're like, oh, dude, I see dead people. It's that guy. It's him. He's a grown-up, and he's in this, and that's really cool. There's lots of guys in this that you see him on screen, and you're like, I know that person. There's a guy in there that was in a time travel show that I used to watch. There's a guy in there from Silicon Valley. I mean, there's a bunch of actors in this that just pop up all of a sudden. And you're like, wait, I've seen that person and stuff. It's that kind of show, okay? But it's all accredited to the writing. The writing is great. The writing is really good. These are flawed characters. A lot of them are very flawed. And you're introduced to the flaws right away. I mean, immediately. And you're like, whoa, what's going on? But then it sort of takes you down that rabbit hole of going, okay, I get this. Like if this was real, if superheroes were real, of course they would have super problems as well. And they have flawed character and they have all kinds of things going on that, basically lead you down the rabbit hole of going, oh yeah, I could see where this could go totally wrong. This doesn't disappoint, okay? It's really, really, really good. I highly recommend it. I wonder if they're going to do a second season. I'm flipping through the internet here to see if there's a second season. Of course, it just came out, so there's no telling. Anyway, I'm gonna turn this off. This is distracting. It's fantastic, though. You gotta check it out. You're gonna be like, oh my god, that was so good. Oh my god. I don't know why I'm sounding like a Valley Girl. Oh my god, it's so good. Oh my god. Let's talk about things I've heard. Okay, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast. Let's talk about Mr. Kreischer. Okay, the Bartholomew himself, Bert the Man Kreischer. This past Wednesday, I had talked about him doing a podcast last week with Daniel Sloss, who is a comedian from Scotland, and they were talking on the podcast about doing a drinking podcast. Okay, this did not disappoint. This past Wednesday, they did an episode 353, Daniel Sloss and Kai Humphries. Okay, 3 hours and 23 minutes. Now, granted, there is some commercials in the beginning that you got to fast forward. I recommend going on YouTube. Listen, get a beer, okay, much like this, and crack it open. Maybe have a few sips. And drink with them in the show. Watch it on YouTube, sit around with your friends, and drink with them on the show. They start off drinking some ciders, which Bert's like, I didn't even know what a cider was. I had to go look around looking for ciders. They start off with like Angry Orchard with the apple, and then they move to like a strawberry, and then they mix in some Jameson shots, and they get progressively drunker during the show, and it's hilarious. It's like hanging out with your buddies, okay? There's nothing harmful in it. They're silly. They act goofy. They tell stories. The guy, Kai Humphries, talks about being in several fights, and it's pretty funny stories. Funny comedians. Okay, these guys are worldwide. I looked up Daniel Sloss on Instagram just to see, okay, like I've never heard of this guy other than on Bert's podcast before, but I'm interested to see who he is. He's got like 175,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, okay, so this guy's somebody. I clicked on Kai Humphries. He's got like 1,600. I'm like, okay, so he's new. He's up and coming. But listen, this should put them over the top. Both of them. They're very entertaining. They're both very hilarious. And with Bert, they're really fun to listen to. This is a fun hang. If you want to listen to something and have a good time, this is a good one to listen to. So anywho, I have been having a few beers, by the way, if you couldn't tell. I went to my favorite, I went to my normal store to buy a product. Let's just say it's a big store that starts with a W, and they don't carry my favorite beer, and, okay, they carry my favorite beer, but they only have a slot for 4 12-packs, and they're always empty. So when I went there today, I was like, I'm going to get a beer. No, just an empty slot. Thanks, Big W, you suck. So anywho, the winner today is Modelo in a can. Thanks, Greg. Greg had the recommendation of Modelo in a can. It's pretty darn good. Yummy. So today was a full day. Today was a very, very full day. I got up this morning, had some coffee. My wife was eager to go outside and do some yard work. She, in her free time, has decided that it's time for her to spend some time outside, and which is great. I could use some help outside. It's a full-time job to keep up with the yard and cutting grass and pulling weeds and weed eating and edging and that kind of stuff, keeping things watered, keeping things moved to where they need to be, that kind of stuff. And so she was like, I'm gonna help. I'm gonna be out here. I'm gonna do this kind of thing. I'm like, all right, cool. And she spent Friday while I was at work weed eating. Well, sort of weed eating. She chewed up a lot of line and was learning how the weed eater works in the process, and got about a third of the yard done between the sidewalk and the driveway, and then called it a day. And I was like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna do the rest on Saturday. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, it's great. So this morning I knew I had to go to the grocery store and to Sam's, and I was like, I gotta get this stuff done. I need to run uptown to the bank. I got errands to run. She's like, well, don't worry about that. I'll get out and I'll start doing this, and then when I get done weed eating, I'll mow the grass. And I was like, really? You mow the grass? Okay, well, yeah. Let me show you how it works. It's been a while since you've been on it. So I showed her how to turn the mower on and run it and that kind of thing. She's like, all right, I got this. You just go. Like, okay. So got up, made some breakfast this morning, went on to the store, got her set up on the weed eating in the mower, and when I got home, she was mowing grass. I guess she was done weed eating, or had decided she'd had enough of it. She had called me while I was there, and she says, you're gonna have to do some of this when you come home and just kind of make sure I hit all the spots. I'm like, okay, that's cool, it's fine. And she weed eated and she mowed and she did a good job, and it kept her busy, and she seemed happy. And during the process, it occurred to her that, hey, that garage door is pretty dirty whenever the door's closed, because it's got all that cedar dust on it, because my husband keeps doing all the cedar projects in the garage, and it blows everywhere, it gets all over stuff, and it stains. And I'm worried that red dust is going to stain that white front of that new garage door. So she's like, hey, I'm gonna clean this. How about help me? Jeez. Okay. I'll help you. What do you want to get done? So we ended up closing the door, wiping it down. She had a brush with some soap, and she washed it. And of course it came clean, and it looked pretty afterwards. And I was like, good for you. Great. That's awesome. I weed eated and tore my legs up in the process because, it's hot. It's almost 100. I'm walking around in shorts and Crocs, and of course running this weed eater, it just throws rocks and crap and debris everywhere, and it fraps you on the leg. And if I were smarter, I would wear pants to do this, some of the lightweight pants, so that when stuff hits you, it doesn't hurt as bad. But no, I'm still a knucklehead. I'm still that Marine who's like, nah, nothing hurts me, I'm good, let's just do this. And I got out there and we'd eat like crazy and let it frap me in the leg anyway, and kind of grimace every time it hits me. But I got it done, okay? Made sure everything looked good, helped her clean up, got all that stuff tidied away. She decided she wanted to clean out the vehicles. I'm like, okay, here's your stuff, have fun. And I got started on my project. I've been working on this couch, this cedar couch thing in my garage. And it's getting really close to putting the urethane on it. I got out there and sanded it really well, made sure that the glue that I put on it had hardened and cured, and I got rid of the residue that were around the open holes from when I put it on there. I added a new support. I sanded it, got it all squared away, zipped it on the back. It looks good. Sat on it a few times, made sure it was comfortable. Cleaned it really well, went over it with some mineral spirits and a rag, and got it wiped down really good. And whenever you wipe it down with mineral spirits, it makes the cedar wood really pop in color. It looks darker, it looks wet, and it's really attractive. Well, that's kind of what it's going to look like when you put the finish on it. Now, I am sitting in a cedar chair right now that I built, and I'm sitting at my podcast table, which is also cedar. And I can tell you that that finish, whenever it is on there, looks fantastic. Okay, it adds like a nice coating on it. It's like a, you know, if you ever eat an M&M and you break through that candy shell. Okay, this is kind of the candy shell, except it's not candy and it doesn't taste as good. But it's that outer coating on top of the wood that protects the wood. I plan to put that on that couch. And when I do, it's going to make the color of the couch pop. It's going to look really attractive. Okay? So that's coming. I got it wiped down really well. Got it drying in the garage. And hopefully tomorrow I can put the first coat on it. It's going to take several coats. And so far, I tried to figure out my time. I think I'm somewhere between 30 and 40 hours into the project so far. So far. Okay? It's going to take several coats of this clear urethane, and I'm going to have to flip it over upside down and do the bottom side and do all the angles and all the corners just to make sure it's protected, because this is going to be an outside couch type situation. Okay? I think when I'm done, it's going to be 60 to 70 hours in this couch. Okay? And I've had people reach out to me and be like, oh my God, can you build me one? Let me just answer that with the clear answer, no. No. Because in reality, it's going to take wood, which I don't have. I don't have a ready access to this kind of wood. It's going to take flat wood, which means it's got to be milled, which I don't have access to. And it's going to take a lot of time, effort, energy, sanding paper, electricity, putty, you know, urethane, all this stuff. It's going to take a lot of time. None of that is profitable. None of that is worthwhile. I mean, this is really a labor of love. This is something that I want to do. To me, this is a lot easier than going, oh yeah, let's just buy some outdoor furniture for $2,000. I have the wood, okay? I got lucky in the fact that my wife's dad had some of this wood cut. He had a portable sawmill at one time. He had cut up a lot of wood. It just so happens that he had it in a barn drying and was like, hey, I'm not using that wood. If you want it, take it. I was like, really? That would be awesome. He had a saw. He was like, I'm not using this saw. You take it. You're doing woodworking. You could use it. I was like, really? That would really be awesome. All of this stuff kind of happened. And so it's not like I was like scouting the woods with binoculars going, you know, like Steve Irwin. Today we're going in search of the great wood of the forest, and it's going to be flat and perfect. And oh, look, I found it. Quick, let's move quickly. Use your taser. You know, it's not a, I didn't hunt for it. I didn't find it. I didn't cut it down. I didn't do any of that stuff. Okay. I did go to Georgia and bring it back, but a lot of this is thanks to Bicknell. Okay. I have told people at work, because I've had a lot of people ask me, will you build me one of these? Will you build it? Yeah, okay. You bring me the wood, you get the wood and bring it to me, and then let's discuss how many hours it's going to take and what it's worth to you and to me to do the project. Like, if you want to do it, I'll help you do it. I'll help you figure out how to do it. If you want me to do it, then, you know, we're going to have to discuss that as well. But the availability of the wood is not like it's just piling up everywhere going, hey, work with me. Now, this is one of the things that I've thought about. Wood is something that is growing all the time, everywhere we live, right? Especially here in the Southeast. There's availability to wood. There's not availability to a sawmill, unless you know somebody. You can buy a sawmill, you can create a sawmill, but then you're talking about money, a lot of money, and space, and time, and effort, and energy, and all that stuff. That sometimes is just not worth it. I mean, it's just not. I enjoy doing this as a hobby, but if I wasn't doing this, what would I be doing? I look at a lot of people's hobbies on Facebook and stuff like that, and I think, okay, could I do something like that? what is your hobby? Like, if you have a hobby, what is it that you do? I used to think that making YouTube videos was a hobby, but it's not. It's a process. It could be a hobby. It could be something that I do. I mean, granted, I don't have to make YouTube videos. There's nothing that compels me to do it. There is something that compels me to make podcasts, but I can't explain that either. I don't know how to explain that. But the YouTube part of it, I watched Casey Neistat's video, and if you've watched Casey Neistat lately, he hasn't put out a lot of videos. And that's because he's moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. He is shutting down his studio, sort of, in New York City. He had 2 studios that were combined. They knocked out a wall. He's been using it for a while, and he opened up a new studio space called 368 that's supposed to help creators create new content, and that's going well. But his personal studio, where he makes most of his videos, he has built the wall back in between the 2 units, and he has basically rented the other part out to one of his buddies. He's going to keep his original space for when he's in New York, but he's moving to LA. And their decision to move is because of family, and because it's the right thing to do. And honestly, I think that he wants to make movies. I think that he's getting involved in famous people again, and he's getting involved in influencers such as Will Smith. He's had him on the podcast before. He's talked about him on his YouTube channel. He said, hey, we're going to be doing projects together and this kind of thing. And there's a lot of draw to be in LA. Mainly because if you're a celebrity, you either want to be in New York or LA because of the market. You have opportunity. You have people there. I listen to a lot of these podcasts, and they talk about how they'd like to live somewhere else, but then they couldn't do their podcast. They're like, yeah, I could do it from, if we moved to Denver, but then I have to convince people to come to Denver to do my podcast. And that's it's not easy to do. Well, yeah, it's not. Probably the only person that could do it, if he wanted to, was Joe Rogan. If Joe wanted to move to Denver and be like, hey, come to Denver and do my podcast, people would be like, okay, I'm going to book me a flight. Sure. I mean, LA to Denver, what's that, an hour flight? Maybe? I don't know. I'm just guessing. If you're drinking at home, or listening at home, that was your drinking pause. You're supposed to take these with me. I mean, I know I should announce it, but, whatever. It is what it is. Okay, so, stuff I heard. There's a lot of stuff I heard. None of it matters. Comic-Con's going on. They're talking about doing a female Thor with Natalie Portman, I guess, as the female Thor. I didn't read these comics. I don't know anything about a female Thor. I don't know what's going to go on. If Natalie Portman's playing the character, I'll watch it. I'm a huge fan of hers. I think she's funny. I think she's fun to watch. I think she is a good actress. So, if they do that, great. I'll watch it. On Netflix, Orange is the New Black has their last season on Netflix now. And I love Orange is the New Black. I actually got started with Netflix because of that show, because of my dad. I had a lot of people telling me, oh, you need to watch this show. Oh, you need to watch that show. Oh, you need to watch House of Cards. Oh, you need to watch Breaking Bad. Oh, you need to watch this. You need to watch that. All this stuff's on Netflix. Oh. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I was visiting my dad one summer, and he was like, listen, there's this show called Orange is the New Black, and I'm hooked. It's really good. And I think you'd enjoy it. And I was like, okay. And I watched the first episode and was immediately hooked. And I think I watched the first season in like a day and a half. I was like, whoa, holy cow, the writing in this is incredible. The acting in this is incredible. And I'm a huge fan of good acting and good writing. I mean, if you make me forget that you're an actor, and I get to feel for the characters and get to experience their life in that world, you've done your job. I mean, there's several characters on there that you cannot forget. One of the most memorable is Suzanne. They call her Crazy Eyes. She every season does not disappoint to be a chaotic, scary mess that you care for and are also afraid of at the same time. There is some main characters that you know, Piper and and several of the others that you just, they're there and you like them and you're like, okay, I like this character. I don't like that character. Oh, I see the dynamic between that person and this person. There are some storylines that I'm not crazy about. One of the ones I do like is Natasha Lyonne, which she plays a drug addict on the show, and she has her own Netflix show called Russian Doll that they've already greenlit for season 2. If you haven't watched Russian Doll, I recommend watching that. That's incredible. That's like Groundhog Day, except different. It's different in the fact that she bumps into somebody else who's also going through the same thing she's going through, and they have to problem solve to figure out why they're going through it. It's really interesting. She's an interesting actress. She's got red hair, it's curly and frizzy, and she's got a raspy voice. She's been in lots of movies and shows. I think she was in the American Pie movies. When you see her, you're going to go, oh yeah, that girl. Yeah, I dig it. Good. She's really good on Orange is the New Black. She's fragile and determined and very flawed. And I can't wait to watch the last season. I'm sad that it's the last season. I mean, I realize that everything's meant to end at some point. But literally, I chose this weekend, even though Orange is the New Black season 7, the final season, was coming out, the same time that The Boys came out on Amazon, the same time that there's a new sci-fi show with Katie Sackhoff that started off on Netflix. All this came out at the same time, and I chose to watch The Boys first. Because there was something about the previews. I was just like, oh, I gotta watch this. This is... I don't know if it was the characters or the fact that I saw the dude from Star Trek. I was just like, oh, I gotta watch this. It did not disappoint. I know that Orange is the New Black is going to be great because every episode was great. All the characters are great. But it's honestly one of those shows that I don't want to binge. I've binged it, for several seasons. I've watched a ton of shows for Orange is the New Black in a hurry. This final season, I want to just watch 1 or 2 episodes at a time and savor it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I kind of feel like I owe it to them. I know they don't care about me. They're not thinking about me. As a fan of the show, though, I just want to savor it. So, my my pass the time, getting ready for bed show to watch this past week has been Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. I went back to season 1. I've been watching episodes. They're all good. I haven't found one that I've been disappointed with. I've enjoyed every bit of it. One of my favorite ones I've watched so far is him and David Letterman. Just the jokes between the two of them. They're at some diner and David's like, who are all these people? And he's like, I don't know, they're just people. He goes, they're not extras? He goes, no. He goes, Dave, I don't own the restaurant. He goes, well, we could change that. which is the truth, So anyway, go check that out if you haven't seen it. It's pretty darn good. Thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for stopping by. And remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you to everybody who's there. Appreciate every one of you. And if you haven't heard it from anybody, I love you. Alright, this is the part where I say, cue the cow. Moo, baby. And if you listen to it on the podcast, you'll hear the sound effect. It goes, murr.